Go to the other big story this morning, which is Attorney General Merrick Garland announcing that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss has been appointed special counsel in the Hunter Biden probe. This coming as former President Donald Trump could face his fourth indictment as early as Wednesday.
To discuss, let's welcome in former New Jersey Superior Court judge and host of the Judging Freedom podcast, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, great to see you this morning. I want to get your reaction to this. So we heard this news on Friday. So David Weiss, this is the same man who greenlit Hunter's sweetheart plea deal and let the statute of limitations expire on the more serious charges. Do you think there's a conflict of interest here?
Well, I don't know that there's, and good morning, Allison and Rob. It's always a pleasure to be on with you, my friends. I don't know that there's a conflict of interest. I mean, a conflict of interest would mean that David Weiss has a personal interest in the outcome and he can't do his job. But what I understand is happening is that David Weiss has assigned an entirely new set of prosecutors to this case. These are not the same human beings that negotiated the plea deal that fell apart in the courtroom a couple of weeks ago. This is a far more aggressive team. In fact, one of them is not even from Delaware. He's from Maryland. So I think those who believe that Hunter Biden has been treated with kid gloves might be in for a happy surprise if they see a more aggressive prosecution. Now, what does a more aggressive prosecution mean? It means more charges for more crimes. The prosecutor can't change what the level of punishment is. You pay your taxes late. It's a misdemeanor. You don't go to jail for that. But if you mislead the government substantially on your taxes, that's not a misdemeanor. So we don't know exactly what other charges are out there that, as you point out, are still alive, meaning the statute of limitations hasn't run. But we do know that a different team is looking at them.
Yeah, that's fascinating. We know that Gary Shapley, he was one of the whistleblowers, the IRS whistleblowers that testified on Capitol Hill, and he claimed under oath that Weiss was prevented from charging Hunter Biden with as many as 3 additional felony charges. So it'll be interesting to see if those, I guess if the statute of limitations hasn't already expired, are those now back on the table? And I'll add to that, do you think this will really go to trial?
Well, I do think it will go to trial, and because this is a dangerous situation, not only for Hunter but for his father.
Right.
You have a more aggressive team of prosecutors investigating the son. You have a whistleblower who says the son was selling influence by bringing his father on the telephone call while he's negotiating deals in Ukraine. You have the son receiving many, many, many times the income of whatever service he was providing was worth. You don't know how this is going to end. The statute of limitations is 5 years here, except for certain income tax crimes.
Right.
So it's going to depend on exactly when these events occurred and what evidence the government comes up with. In terms of David Weiss being prevented from seeking an indictment, Rob, he still needs the consent of Merrick Garland. He doesn't have to go through the various steps between him and the Attorney General. He now reports exclusively and directly to the Attorney General. If the Attorney General says no indictment, there'll be no indictment. If the Attorney General says go ahead and indict for whatever you have evidence for, then presumably that's what David Weiss and his new team will do.
We will see what he decides. I want to pivot now to the former president, a Georgia district attorney, reportedly preparing to bring more than a dozen indictments against him and his allies for allegedly attempting to subvert the results of the 2020 election in that state. Do they have a strong case here, Judge?
Well, I think they do. I mean, the essence of the case in Georgia is that a group of Republicans signed documents saying that they were truly the chosen electors for the state, that the state actually went for Donald Trump rather than for Joe Biden. Now, if they actually signed documents saying that, then the documents were false. That's an act of perjury, false swearing to the government. There were supposedly 16 of them who did that, 1 for each of the electoral votes that Georgia has. 12 of those 16 have been given immunity. Now, the government doesn't just give out immunity as a gift. It gives immunity when you tell the government what it wants to hear. So presumably, at least 12 of those 16 are going to testify before the grand jury against Donald Trump, against Rudy Giuliani, against whoever else is targeted by the district attorney.
Yeah, and it appears we've had 3 indictments already It appears that this time we will get a Trump mugshot. At least that is what we're hearing out of Georgia, which would be historic in and of itself. Judge, we'll leave it there. We'll pick this conversation up as the week goes on. Thank you.